There was a case in Florida where one of my colleagues bumped into a nest of black widows.
Black widows don't live in nests. I'm Rod Crawford. I've been studying spiders for more than 54 years, and today we're going to look at some famous or infamous spider scenes from movies. This one's from Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Very unrealistic to have tarantulas appear all over a guy's back. They're something you see one at a time. It is certainly possible to find a tarantula in a cave or a tunnel. A tarantula, not a flock of them. When people want to use a spider in a movie for some horror effect, they almost always use a tarantula. A, because they're big and photogenic. B, because they're all known to be harmless in real life and nobody wants to use up actors. I certainly wouldn't be scared. I would probably take my shirt off so as to examine the tarantulas without damaging them. Okay, now the title here is simply Spider-Man. Lots of people call me Spider-Man, but I don't have a costume.
MJ.
Thanks.
The spider that delivers the bite somewhat resembles an Australian redback, which would usually not be fatal, but would make a person very sick. If a spider does descend onto a person's hand, it would not immediately bite. You would have to do something like slap at it. I've let many spiders crawl on me. I've even had a room full of first graders hold a live giant house spider in their bare hands. But I ask that they only do it if they've got short sleeves. It's easy to get a spider off you if it's crawling on your skin. It's not so easy if it's crawling on cloth. They have claws. So it becomes sort of like a frightened kitten clinging to your sweater. Arachnophobia, probably the most infamous movie about spiders. Fogging a tree and hoping the things that fell out of the tree would fall into a few funnels they'd set on the ground. Very inefficient. I use a net. I beat the vegetation over the net and everything that I beat falls into the net.
The shape of the abdomen. We must try to find a live specimen.
And of course it's a tarantula, and tarantulas can't jump.
It wasn't just a spider, Mr. Manley. It was potentially a new species of spider.
I don't know about this guy, but I couldn't just glance at a spider and say, it's potentially a new species. There are 50,000 species of spiders on this planet. No one person carries all the characteristics of all 50,000 in his head. Now that's a real spider, looks like a huntsman spider. Again, we have the spider dropping on someone and immediately biting. That goes with the idea that spiders are trying to bite a human, which is utterly and completely fake. Any spider of this general category, like tarantulas and huntsman spiders that have poor vision, they can't even tell a human exists as a separate object, let alone want to bite one.
I have got a problem that it may be spider related, and you seem to be the foremost authority on the West Coast, or, well, any coast, for that matter.
Dr. Jennings, let me tell you that every so often in a little town somewhere, there is a health scare, some unexplained outbreak, and spiders make convenient culprits.
That's true. The idea that if you didn't see what bit you, it was a spider, is easily the most widespread superstition about spiders. Practically everything that the average person blames on spider bites, which spider, of course, they never saw, is an infection or some other non-bite kind of skin condition. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. There are some spiders that tend to avoid light, but a spider that lives permanently in a cave probably wouldn't even be sensitive to light. And the eyes would be barely functional. If you have a population of any fairly rapidly reproducing living thing underground in a lightless environment, every generation there could be some little mutation to the genes that control the eyes. If there's no light in your environment, there's no disadvantage to those mutations, so they accumulate. And eventually the eyes might even completely disappear. That's why troglodytic life tends to be blind. Yeah, that spider is more realistic in terms of resembling an actual earthly spider than I would have expected. That's a point of departure from real arachnids. They're thinking in terms of a wasp with a stinger. Spiders aren't insects. They do not have stingers. But again, of course, this is a fantasy creature. You can't necessarily judge it by real-world arachnology. Eight-legged freaks. Looks like a real tarantula there.
Joshua? You're a big fella.
I mean, the implication being the tarantula sees the boy's face and is trying to get at him. But no, tarantulas can't form images with their eyes. Their eyes are suitable for telling the difference between night and day, perhaps to a limited extent detecting movement. Forming an image? No, only a few retinal cells per eye. Wolf spiders have relatively big eyes, and jumping spiders have the biggest eyes of all. Jumping spiders actually can see what you look like to an extent. No bite of a real tarantula would have an effect like that. It might hurt like a bee sting, or in some species, you'd barely notice you'd been bitten.
They're getting closer! Move it!
If there was an arachnologist consulted in making this movie, the filmmakers paid no attention to that person. Unrealistic spider anatomy. They're not jumping spiders, and yet they somehow have jumping ability. Real spiders don't hunt in packs. Obviously, that whole movie is made strictly as entertainment without any intention of conveying arachnological accuracy. Movie makers regard spiders as a convenient object to inspire fear in their audience. They're banking on the audience having the typical nonsensical attitude towards spiders. Oh, they're all out to get you. Oh, if I see a spider, I'll run. To be brutally frank, if you met a big spider in a dark alley, would you be more afraid than if you met a hulking big human in a dark alley? If so, you're a fool.